Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at volume 2 of Best of Dragon. There's some really good articles in this one. This was the one that I really dog-eared, and you'll see why once we get into it a little bit. So these were really nice. Just a quick background on what the Best of Dragons were. They compiled articles from older issues of the Dragon, and then they reprinted them in Best of Dragons 1 through, I said 4 in the last video, is volume 5. I only have the first 2 because I had the original magazines for everything else. So Best of Dragon, volume 2, we're going to take a look at all the goodies inside today on page 121. Best of the Dragon, volume 2. This is, much as I used the first volume, I use this one more. And you'll see why in just a moment. I've been excited about doing this video. As you know, if you follow my channel for any length of time, when I do the Dragon looks, I don't thumb through it beforehand. Some of these I haven't opened in many, many years. This one is probably the most recently opened of the Dragons I've hit lately. I probably looked at this guy probably 10 or 15 years ago. And we'll get to why in just a minute. So here we are. First we start with an ad for The Complete Strategist, the fantasy game center that has it all in New York, New York. It's funny, I just saw a Facebook post about that. They're still around, I guess. Best of the Dragon, Volume 1. November of 1981. Bought this guy new off the stands. And then a little note on putting together the volume, the table of contents, and new NPCs and old favorites. The supporting cast of real characters to help the DM create exciting adventures. This is what I loved about this. There's some great NPC classes in here. Starting with the Anti-Paladin from Dragon number 39. This was from July of 1980. This is a great NPC class. In my opinion, one of the, if not the best NPC class. I've used Anti-Paladins many times. I used one in my Sundi campaign, which wrapped up about a year ago, and I've had a high-level Anti-Paladin vexing my players for a couple of years now. My player Mike, I run an all-evil campaign. My player Mike plays an Anti-Paladin. I have allowed this as a player character class. Very well-written, very complete NPC class. It's just, this is a really good NPC class. And there we go. And there's a look at the Anti-Paladin original layout from the July 1980 issue. Then we get Monster Movies Now. First, Monster Movies Now. Crush, Crumble, and Chomp, the Great Movie Monster computer game. A buddy of mine actually had this. I saw him load it. It took forever to load it, and I had to leave, unfortunately. I didn't get to really see him play it. Samurai from October 1976. Number 3. Yes, I played a samurai character long before Oriental Adventures. I used this write-up and played a samurai who got killed, unfortunately, by an Asian dragon. Healers. I have used NPC healers in my time. These are not bad. This is not a bad NPC class at all. This is from October of 76, from issue 3. And we get an ad for Tunnels and Trolls, a fantasy role-playing game from Flying Buffalo in Scottsdale, Arizona. And there's the healer's progression table. Then we get the Berserker from October of 76, issue number 3. Never played a Berserker. Not really anything I needed. I don't remember having any in my game either. Scribes. Yes, I used the heck out of this write-up on Scribes. When the players would go to town and try to find a scholar to help them with this or that, I used Scribe for some of it. The Ninja from July of 1978, issue number 16. I did play a ninja, and the ninja had a crazy mechanic in that he got a saving throw versus damage, and that is, if I took a swing, my player character takes a swing at an NPC ninja and hits the ninja, and the ninja would take damage, he gets a save versus damage. So his save at 7th level is a 12 or greater on a d20. And if he makes that save, you take no damage. This was a crazy powerful NPC class. I did play one as a player character for a little while. We eventually said, no, we can't have this save versus damage thing. So we actually just, we took this class out. And then nobody really cared about it until Oriental Adventures, and we had a few of those running around. So here's a rather long, well thought out ninja, but that save versus damage was crazy powerful. You got to look at the original layout there. And then we get Game Masters Hobbies Incorporated ad for San Francisco, California, and Glorantha, the most detailed fantasy universe in existence, where men walk with gods, from Chaosium in Albany, California. The new improved Ninja, number from issue 30 of October of 79. Again, we didn't really play the Ninja much until OA came out in 85, but I remember reading the article. It was good. And then we have from Harry's house in Westmont, Illinois, you can organize with binders and dividers. I don't remember Harry's. And then it's Less by Foam from War Games West in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And then we continue the Ninja article, and then we go to the Sorcerer's Scrolls, Opinions and Options from the Mad Who Made the Games. So these are all from the Sorcerer's Scrolls from Gary Gygax. These were actually pretty useful. This gave a lot of insight, especially if we're trying to interpret some poorly written spell. When you could have articles like this and go back and look at intent, it helped a lot. It's a lot, not unlike figuring out some legal stuff every now and again. Realism versus game logic. These were useful articles. I read all these all the time. What the game is, where it's going, from February of 1979. Much About Melee, April of 79. I wouldn't be playing for another year. Character Social Class. Looking Back into the Future, June of 79. And if you like the best of, isn't it time you had the best? An ad for Dragon Magazine itself. You could subscribe and get all the fine issues that they had. Evil versus Law. Evil, Law versus Chaos. This helped a lot to define the alignments, what was intended by the original authors. Humans and Hybrids. 7 different treatments of half-ogres were popping around. I remember half-ogres being, when I was new to the game, everybody wanting to play a half-ogre. I had a half-ogre. I've talked about him on the channel before, Mongo Grossberger. I didn't play Mongo very much. He was just a big brute of a guy with low intelligence. He was fun, but only for a while. And then books are games. Books are books. Games are games. And then January of 1980, Make Believe Magic. Getting closer to when I started. Good Isn't Stupid. Paladins and Rangers. From June 1980, issue 38. That is when I started playing D&D. I did not start buying Dragon for a while yet. It was around issue 57 or so before I really got into Dragon. There was so much stuff to get, and we were still playing the basic set. It was hard to dump a lot of money into it fast. And now we get section 3, Monsters and Miscellany. Various villains, variants, and environments in words and pictures. Theory and Use of Gates by Ed Greenwood. From the City of Brass to Dead Orc Pass. I used the heck out of this. Gates were one of the hardest to understand portions of D&D back in the day. This article was a definite go-to. Inns and Taverns. Something else we didn't have a ton of information on. So from 1979. Good Evening. And this by Len Lekofka. There's much information on the vampire. Big article on vampires. Oh, God, I forgot all about this one being in here. Yes, I dog-eared the heck out of this. I don't use standard vampires. I vary them up a little bit. I've taken a look at vampires. That was a broad one. I'll take a look at some of the other ones I've done over the years, sometime down the line. Varieties of Vampires. I'm going to have to reread these. A look at lycanthropy. Yes, coming up soon. We're going to take a look at my version of werewolves on Oerth. And I'll read this before I do that. But I do werewolves a little differently on Oerth. Blueprint for a Lich. Also very hard to understand when I first started playing D&D. How did you become a Lich? Why would you become a Lich? Very useful article. Tesseracts. So we got a little bit of space here. Tesseracts in the D&D game. We used them in Traveler and Star Frontiers as well. There you go. The Politics of Hell. I remember reading this quite a bit. Again, you want to get an insight as to what the creatures are supposed to be like from the people who wrote the books. Long article, as I recall. Poison from AA to XX. Poison's always been tricky for me in AD&D. I have used this article. I used this article a fair piece and the one from the first issue. I used them both. And then we get a fine ad for Game Science for their precision dice. Dice, the old dice that came in the box set, rounded very badly, as I showed in my box set video. And it was important and difficult to get good lined up dice. The Nomenclature of Polearms by Igor Gygax. Used the heck out of this one, too. I did not know what a Bardiche or a Ranseur were when I first started playing. I had to learn. I knew what a halberd was. But there's a nice look at a lot of different polearms here. And then Martian Metals. They're only metal. Martian Metals in Cedar Park, Texas. I have a few Martian Metals lurking around here. And then the back page ad, go for solid gold from Grenadier Models Incorporated. The solid gold line of official 25mm fantasy miniatures for advanced Dungeons and Dragons out of Springfield, Pennsylvania. So there you have it. A lot of goodness in this issue. The NPC classes were really, really brought me in. And I was really excited to get my mitts on these. I hadn't had access to any of those before. And as I said, the Anti-Paladin has been played probably at least half a dozen times in my 40 plus years of DMing at my table. I've never played one. I have run plenty of NPC Anti-Paladins, but I have allowed it several times when a player really wanted to, but I made them play the character. We will sometimes do evil campaigns, not very often. A couple of my players don't really care for them, but we'll do where everybody's evil and we're just going to go ahead and have some fun. And the only standing rule is don't ruin the campaign by attacking each other. But usually my players find a way to get along. So every once in a while I'll do that. And then Mike will trot out his Anti-Paladin. Darth Vader, the Anti-Paladin. Mike's been playing him for decades. So there you have it. It's a nice look at the Best of Dragon Volume 2. This will be the last of these that I have because I don't have Volumes 3, 4, or 5. Because as I said, I had the original magazines by then. So that's all I've got today on page 121. Please leave any comments. Like the video if you would. Subscribe if you haven't. Tell your friends. And I'll see you next time on page 121.